Hello, my name is Molly Barker and I'm founder of the Red Boot Coalition, and I am here today with an old friend of mine, Edwin Peacock. And Edwin, you are running for...
Mayor of Charlotte.
Mayor of Charlotte, something my dad ran for in 1975, I believe.
Yep.
So Edwin and I are going to have a conversation, and part of Red Boot is about looking at the human in the role of politics or leadership.
Mm-hmm.
And so he and I have discussed a few rules to how this will work. First, if we're all said and done and neither one of us feel very good about how this went, we have the absolute, a right and authority to say, I don't want that to go live. And the second thing is I'm going to encourage both of us to use I statements. So
okay.
If you or I start to go into the we's, thems, us's, and other people's,
good.
I will call you on that. Are you
I like
good
it.
with that?
That's great with me.
Okay.
I like that rule of engagement.
And then I think that's pretty good. Oh, and I just want you to be yourself.
Okay.
So
don't think I have any other choice. But
yeah.
but I know some people play the third person. So
yeah. And I work with kids, so I'm coming at this. I'm not here to get you. I'm here like with the curiosity of like an 8-year-old kid.
Cool.
So are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay.
Let's do it.
So the first question, and I love it, is what do you love about being you?
I love being me because as a little kid, the one thing that I loved about me was I felt that I was a reflection of both my mother and my father. And my mom was an artist and my dad was a business guy. And when I was 4 years old, my dad ran for public office. And that was right around the time he met your dad. So I'm me. And I'm me as a result of my parents. And I'm just blessed to have two awesome, awesome parents. My mom's unfortunately not with us anymore. She died of ovarian cancer a year and a half ago. But she's up in heaven and she's basically having a glass of wine right now and smiling. And the one thing she always wanted me to be, Molly, and the one thing that I said that when I began this campaign was, what if I detached myself from the outcome here? What if I said I'm just going to be me? Because the one thing that we get all caught up in politics is that what we want everybody to like us. But I've learned is that the more people I try to please, the further I move away from who the authentic Edwin Peacock is. And the one thing that I said, especially something that I did in early September in front of Charlotte Agenda, was I said that I'm only going to be me. And I love having these types of interviews because I think people don't realize how real our elected officials are and how our vulnerabilities are just exposed every single day. And I think people need to recognize that I'm going to make mistakes as mayor, I'm going to make mistakes as a husband and as a father and as a business leader, but we learn from our mistakes, and that's where I want people to recognize I'm real. I'm going to make a mistake, but I need them to come into my heart and to understand where my heart is for the city.
Cool. So to get into some fun real, this would be like a total question of like a kid. If you were an eating utensil, if you could be any eating utensil, which one would you be like? What eating utensil are you most like?
The spork. The spork was used at Camp Carolina, where I went to a boys' camp, and the spork was something that if you lost it, you couldn't eat. And so they made you put that in your backpack, and the spork was both the spoon and the fork, and you weren't able to carry a knife until you were 12. So I had a spork, so I'd say spork.
I was a sport too. When I asked that question of myself, I was a sport.
Good.
So if you can remember as far back as last weekend, what was the coolest thing you did last weekend?
Coolest thing I did last weekend was I went to Sycamore Brewing. We kicked off our campaign in what I think is quintessentially now Charlotte, which is a new craft brewery located in a formerly terrible industrial area that has been activated by light rail. And my friends Justin and Sarah Brigham had an anniversary party, and there were 1,800 people all out in this big parking lot in this area. And I was watching this live band, and I was just sitting there hanging out. And I'm like, I'm just here by myself. Nobody knows I'm a candidate for office. And I'm just going, this is Charlotte. I mean, Charlotte growing up, as you know, was pretty boring. So it was alive. I loved it. That was the best part of last weekend, was just sitting there and doing that. And I'd been campaigning all day, so I went there just to see them, and it was fun.
Okay.
Yep.
If you could be any act in the circus, what would you be?
I would be the clown on the unicycle. I learned how to ride a unicycle from my friend Henry Smythe, and his sister Jordan and her brother. They taught me how to do that. So I love the unicycle. It's pretty cool.
I would be the guy on the motorcycles in the
wheel.
Yeah. Because I like to have some control, but with some risk too.
Definitely.
All right. So if you have a couple kids,
Right.
and if you had one quality you would like your children to possess, what would it be?
Empathy. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And that's something that my mom taught me, and I've tried to live that out, and I've repeatedly talked about that as it relates to a lot of the things that I've been campaigning on. Because we have issues in this campaign that deal with race, that deal with class. I come from a blessed and very affluent family, but I really believe that you can make no man feel conscious of his poverty, his inferiority, or his deformity in any way. And I think the best thing that I could teach my kids is for them to show empathy to anybody that they're around, that they care about them just as much as they may care about themselves and their own selfish interests.
So, thinking about that, I work with kids and they ask hard questions, you know. So, this is a hard one.
All right.
If, like the Sandy Hook tragedy, terrible, how would you explain something like that to an 8-year-old child?
I would explain to them that there is evil in the world that we cannot ignore, that the world is not mad or angry at you and that we love you, but bad things happen to good people. And with tragedy, while we can never understand anything as horrific as Sandy Hook, I don't know how you can explain to them other than that they're going to feel anger, they're going to feel pain, and that they need to feel vulnerable to be able to express how angry and sad that they are. I've talked extensively about some of the most vulnerable people in our community and about schools. It's just an unusual area for a mayor to be talking about. But again, those are one of the things that you could be faced with as a mayor. I take that real seriously. So I would never want to be talking about that, but that's hopefully what I would convey to them.
And so I've been very honest in my telling of my story, that there have been some significant things that happened that really changed the way I viewed people.
Right.
And everything.
Yep.
Can you name one event that in particular, specifically, that kind of shifted you or made you think a little different? Yeah,
probably 2 years ago, I got asked a similar type question, and I came out with the fact that at 17 years old I was diagnosed with a learning disability. And in 1987, learning disability gave the impression that you were somehow stupid. And I felt as though, well, why am I working so hard and struggling to get through at this really tough college preparatory degree, and why when I'm not taking the SAT I can't break 1,000? And I just couldn't figure it out, and it was like a fly hitting the window, the fly hitting the window. And I went and got tested, and they said, you're unique, you're different, you learn differently. And so I was hiding that, and I hid it through college. In fact, actually, I even turned down special services at the University of Georgia, that when I basically was open about it, all of a sudden I realized that my unique strengths were around writing and articulating and speaking. And when instead of taking a philosophy class with A through E answers, I got a chance to actually write it out on WordPerfect 5.1, remember that? I actually ended up going from getting a D in a class in college to an A. And so I learned to take my weakness and turn it into my strength. And I've done that, I think, through, in this case, public service. And I think that's one of my streaks uniquely, is to do that. But that vulnerability, I was embarrassed about it. And in fact, now I've learned that I'm not in the company of people with dyslexia that are dumb. I mean, Winston Churchill, Charles Schwab, John Chambers with Cisco, John F. Kennedy. I think many people were even articulating that Steve Jobs may have been dyslexic. So again, I'm vulnerable about that. And I want people to understand, because there's kids out there that are at risk, that they're being told that they're not smart. And in fact, our school system actually can't handle and can't teach them what children with learning disabilities actually should be taught them. There's just not enough resources to that. And so those kids are unfortunately being told that they're not adequate enough. And that kills me, because I had the great fortune of being able to have teachers that really tried to walk me through how I learned differently, particularly in college, but not in high school. I just didn't know that I had it. So anyhow, is that an answer for you? Is that real?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
all right.
Yeah. And so we have just a minute or so left, a couple minutes. Give me one word to describe you, if you could.
Positive.
Positive. Okay, give me one more word.
Impact.
All right, cool. And so a lot of the work that I'm in now is talking about getting people to understand that everybody matters, right?
Yep.
I can have an influence on the person at the convenience store by how I talk
Right.
and treat them and
Right.
all that. So tell me, why does Edwin Peacock matter?
Yeah.
Why do you matter?
Why I matter is that I want to make a positive impact and I want to improve lives. And that is the core function of the 4 words of why I'm running for mayor. I think one of the things you find about people that are running for public office is that a lot of people want to be in office, a lot of people want to be mayor, but they don't know what they want to do. They don't know why. And so one of the videos that really compelled me this year was watching Simon Sinek's video about why, how, what. Why do I want this position that has so much scrutiny, that has so much demands on you, and yet you've got this high risk of people criticizing you and saying that you're a failure? And the way I want to see it is that how can I have a positive impact? How can I improve lives? How can I do that through the role of mayor, which is a gift? It's a gift that's on loan to me. It would be a gift on loan to anyone who's an elected official. It is not the position and how can it benefit the elected official, it's the position and how can it benefit others. And by the way, it's only on loan for a couple years because we get elected every 2 years. And the other thing too is that the position doesn't pay a lot of money. So it's actually has sort of an economic component to it as well too. And I think that that's what's unique about Charlotte, is that we're asking people to come in and give their unique gifts, contribute to the system, then go back to being real and going back to going to the soccer fields, go back and do all the things that parents do and families do and business owners do. And that's why I think our system has really benefited. And that's the kind of mayor I want to be.
All right, thanks guys. I'm still Molly with the Red Boot Coalition. Thanks guys.